Twitch so I know when I actually, like, have to, so I know when I'm actually live so I can get it copy and pasted. Wow, Dino's still alive? Interesting.
Oh yeah, sure, it's 9 a.m.
I mean, he's definitely been on for at least like 6 hours by this point.
Yeah.
Okay, so the stream is up. I don't know if you're the one that's in there right now, but it's up.
Yeah.
And you're in there so that if they ask you any questions and you see them before I see them, you can answer them. Either before or after, I start, the next question.
Yeah, let me post it on my Discord. Add link. What's your key country
And I need to select all these, copy, and tweet that out. Get it tweeted out to other people.
Am I muted on stream right now, or am I?
They can hear you, but that's fine because we're just now getting the word out, so there's not many people in here.
It sounds like really far from me.
I think it might be because of my mic, maybe.
Yeah, because I can't hear myself on your channel. Like, it sounds like it's like really, really far.
I'll have to get in and get that figured out. I might have to turn it up on my account and see it, or on my end too, and see how much I need to adjust it. It sucks. I saw sucked on 2 levels because I saw the post Fendler had about not being able to stream today, and then like right after that, I was thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, well, that kind of works out because he's been booting up a little bit later, and so now I'm not like trying to be live at the same time and miss what he's doing because I don't like doing that.
Got it.
And so it made it a little bit easier to, secure the time to boot up for.
Yeah.
Okay, paste. There you go. Okay, I have it posted everywhere. Now let me go back into Discord and see what I can do about how well you can hear yourself. I tell everyone that's like, oh, do I need like a super like expensive setup? I'm always like, nah, you don't. You don't need one of those.
You don't.
My setup is right now my most expensive thing other than my console is a portable TV. And even that's not that like expensive.
True. Yeah, good point.
Okay, I'm going to see how much more clear I can make you. Okay, I turned the mic volume up a little bit. You're all the way up on this end. Do I need to turn up my sound options? Voice settings. Input mode. Output volumes all the way up. Okay. Don't think there's anything else I can do other than that, so... Tell me if you can hear yourself better, though.
Check. It's a little echoey, but I can hear better.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair,
it's louder, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's because you're gonna. I mean, obviously, if you turn your volume down a little bit, That might help, because remember, you're saying it and you're hearing it on my stream, and you're saying it at the same time, so...
True. Okay, then it should be alright. Well, you can ask the chat, too, if they hear it properly and stuff.
Alright. Okay, so, for those of you who are popping in, we're getting the technical difficulties out of the way here. Let me just auto-upgrade these guys. And since this is actually Looch's first time seeing this team, I think I'm going to go ahead and show him the roster real quick. And this was the formerly known as the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are now the London Black Knights.
Oh, shit.
I felt like getting them a fresh start in a new city, but this is what the offense looks like.
Najee, who's the quarterback? You drafted him?
Yeah, this is Jonathan Bruce. So far, he's decent, I'd say. He hasn't really made the impact I would have wanted. Hey, where are my... whatever that says? I can't read that. What does that say?
It says 5 touchdowns, 2 picks, 1,218 yards.
Keep in mind, this is 10 games into the season.
Oh, damn.
So he's not doing very well at all.
Oh, jeez.
Najee's not... rushing-wise, he's doing a little bit, but I think Najee's actually has a lot of our points right now. I actually went through the numbers, and our kicker actually, like, if you don't count extra points, has scored like 45 of our points.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And so I'm re-signing him. I don't even remember, like, I don't think I have Boswell anymore, but yeah, see, Najee Harris isn't doing well either because the line's not good. He was okay year 1, but he wasn't good year 2. He hasn't been good year 2 yet, and I doubt he will be. It's wherever my make writes. Hey, Soli, how you doing?
I need to wake up.
And then here's the defense.
Oh, look. A gallon of milk sitting on the counter.
Let's see the defense we got. Covington, Watt.
The teriyaki from dinner last night, sitting on the fucking counter.
Oh, you traded for Asante? Oh, I see that.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
Learn how to fucking clean up after himself when he's done.
Hey.
Getting old.
Oh, but you know Soli, but not me.
Look, non-fat milk.
Okay, I do obviously know Soli because he's like everywhere.
It was just for one recipe.
But I think you've only been in maybe Looch's channel, and I don't think I noticed your name all that often in chat because it's normally spammed with other people.
His old name is Skull Kyle. He just changed it to Troll.
Okay. See, I remember that name. I don't remember this name, so. But yeah, this is a rookie DT because the DT room was garbage, and so instead of spending millions and millions of dollars on a new guy that might play well, I drafted a rookie to see if he'd play better, and I don't know if he has or not, to be honest. I haven't really looked at his stats yet. Jay Soli acting like Thanos over here. Nope, he hasn't done anything. That's terrible. Not even going to bother keeping that up on the screen for very long. People might not enjoy looking at that. Okay, Chris Boswell is still the kicker, and he's 15 of 15, so...
15 for 15?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, 15 for 15.
Damn.
Okay, so now since we got the that out of the way, let's go ahead and start with you doing a little bit of an introduction of sorts. Let's start with when did you start streaming, what got you into streaming, as well as who motivated you to stream the most, in your opinion?
Okay. So, I started streaming July of 2020, and the reason I started streaming is because I was playing a lot of video game, well, just because work was kind of closed, because obviously COVID was a big factor at the end of March. So, work was closed, I wasn't going downtown, I was working from home. they kind of called off work at like a couple weeks before I started because they just said, you know what, like there's a lot going on right now. Like everyone just take some time off. We'll regroup in like in August and we'll just take it from there. And then I was playing a lot of Madden with obviously Adam and his brother. Like we played a lot of squads together. So what we decided to do was, why don't we just I know that Adam told me that he started streaming and he started playing in like this obviously Fendler's league. So we just said, okay, I'm going to stream my games on my PlayStation and let's see where this goes. Because I didn't buy a setup, I just streamed from a PlayStation, you know. I know not most people, I would say quite a few people that I started off with just streamed off their console, just kind of took it day by day, playing your franchise games, and then just to see if I enjoyed streaming. Then I started enjoying it a little bit more. I decided to like invest in a better setup and whatever, but it all started when COVID became a thing and I had some spare time, and I was kind of, I was never, I wouldn't say I was too into Twitch. I more watched a lot of Madden YouTube rather than Madden Twitch. Twitch became a thing because I started watching like people like I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like Problem, not Skimbo wasn't streaming at the time, like W, like those, like the Madden comp guys.
The big dog, so to speak.
Yeah, I was watching them before I met anybody because I was like, I didn't know who else to watch. Then obviously Adam introduced me to everybody in this league, and then there's 32 people, which is 32 new people that I got to meet. We all made really connections. We started talking every day in everybody's chats, and then it kind of just took off from there. So it really, if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think I would be doing this. I wouldn't have given it an opportunity at all because I didn't really understand it.
I think we're all definitely in that same boat, though. Like, I definitely wouldn't have started without that being the case. Obviously, Fenn's mentioned it quite a few times that he didn't think this would be a full-time thing for him, and, well, we see how that worked.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I mean,
I just thought it was games, like...
Yeah, I mean, like, if you can play a game, like, I like a lot of different ones. At some point, I might, like, send a picture of just all my games that I have, and so people can see just the range of games I play.
Yeah.
But, as a variety streamer, I think Fenn mentioned it at one point, that variety streaming makes it a little bit harder to grow. But at the same time, with me, it's like, do I really want to play Madden and just not enjoy it, all the time and not grow because I'm not enjoying what I'm doing? Or do I want to constantly shift my game so that people know how versatile I am when it comes to what I can play? And so, like, if I ever need game suggestions, they know I don't really have a ceiling that I could hit to where I won't play a game.
Yeah.
I'm down to try just about any game, as long as it's something I can get on my PS4 specifically right now.
Yeah.
But with that being said, too, you somewhat recently, I'd say, less or 6-ish months ago is when you kind of made that leap to full content creation.
Yeah.
So, what caused you to jump from the secure job that you had to some degree, I guess, because COVID kind of messed with it a little bit. But what made you jump from the secure job you had to full-time creation? What gave you the confidence to do such a leap?
So I had a couple of reasons and motivating factors behind it. So obviously now you know that I just kind of just said it today that like me and my wife are expecting a baby. So we were planning this for a little bit, but we said before we it all comes together, I wanted to do something that like really I've always wanted to do my whole life that made me happy, and just kind of take the leap now, because eventually you get too comfortable and you'll never do it. So that's like I lived my whole life by not doing something because I'm afraid that it's not going to work, because like I keep putting barriers up for myself is basically what I'm trying to say. So I'm like, you know what? There's been really nothing in my life where I kind of just went at it. Like, you know, I wanted to open a business before, and I was always like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And just kept putting roadblocks up for myself. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And, you know, it wasn't easy. It was definitely not easy. But I just said, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Let's see. I was at a point where, you know, I was streaming at 8 p.m., you know, 3 days a week. That was becoming hard. I was going to have to go down to 2 days a week, like just Saturday, Sunday. And, you know, when I start something, like, I give it my all. So, like, I put every ounce of effort that I have into this. So I was like, I'm only going to be able to do this Saturday and Sunday. What growth am I going to see from Saturday and Sunday? So, like, you know, and only, 3 hours a night. So, like, it would be only 6 hours a week because, obviously, I started at 8. I had to wake up at 5 for work. And then, you know, I wanted to get a good night's sleep or else I wasn't going to perform at work. And I just said, you know what, like, obviously discussed it with my wife, and we said, okay, let me try it. Let me give myself, like, 6 months, and let's see how it goes. Like, we had no expectations, just try it, give it a shot, see if you enjoy it. And I did that in, I think, January, like New Year, around New Year's, or a little bit. It was like official more after New Year's.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, it's been about 3 months now where I kind of just took the leap and just said, screw it, let's try. Because I wanted to learn YouTube, I wanted to learn a bunch of stuff, and I just said, you know what, I'd rather try something, and if I failed, then I can say, okay, I tried it, I failed, that's okay. I can live with that result, rather than just me saying, you know, what could have been, and just being, like, regretful of, why didn't I try this, why didn't I try that? So that was more that was really the motivating factor behind it. I said, why not? Every other decision I made in my life was kind of like out of fear. I just said, let's just try. And yeah, that's why we're here now. I'm learning something new every day, bringing new stuff to stream every day. YouTube, I'm learning how to edit, make thumbnails, like everything. And in the span of 3 months, I've learned more in 3 months than I would have in my 1.5 years, almost 2 years doing this. So it's been fun.
Okay, so do you think that making that leap, there was also that maybe seeing people like Fend, CJ, Adam, Yimmy, I think somewhat recently, is seeing them being able to achieve that goal of partnership and being able to be more or less a full-time guy on Twitch also kind of keep you on pace and on the track you're going, or is it completely self-contained?
Honestly, I am pretty self-motivated, so the cool part is, like, those are my friends, so, like, to see them, like, succeed like that, like, that's pretty awesome. Where I get my motivation is from, like, I'm my biggest critic, like, I've probably said that before, but, like, I'm a big critic of myself, my work. Like, I'm very hard on myself, which is a blessing and a curse. But I think that I wouldn't say not necessarily them. Seeing them achieve their goals is awesome. Obviously Adam, because I know him, in person, and it's pretty cool to see somebody that you've known even before streaming, like, just kind of blow up. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, I'm more of a self-motivated kind of thing. Like, when I put that in my head, like, I'm going to achieve that goal, like, I will do anything to get there.
All right, that's definitely a good thing, though. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily have, and it definitely is something that, with you having, I think, gives you definitely a leg up on some of the other people that are jumping in that kind of need that exterior motivation to continue on.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question for you. You brought up you knowing Adam before streaming, and if I remember correctly, you've known Murphy since before that as well, correct?
Kind of right at the same time. I met him through Adam, but, like, I met him, like, the first day I streamed.
Because I remember a post from last year, I think it was, when you were actually hanging out with Murphy somewhere.
Yeah, we're actually going to a Raptors game together, April 7th versus the 76ers. We're going to the game together too. Like, he's become a good friend of mine, and it's cool because, like, you know, a year and a half ago, like, we would have never crossed paths, like, ever. So,
and I feel like the fact that you guys live so close to each other, like, range-wise,
yeah,
I definitely think that helps with content creation side of things. That helps you guys be able to, like, collab with each other too, because, you know, if you guys don't want to do it just through, like, you know, video, you guys can be physically there.
Yeah.
And I think that I think seeing a little real life pack and play game between you guys would be kind of fun to see nearing the end of the Madden cycle when everyone has all these coins and stuff to burn. I think that would be very fun to watch.
Yeah, I try to collaborate with a lot of people off stream, but I have collaborated with people more off stream, but like I did a stream with Super Splash Bro. He lives, like, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but he lives like 10 minutes from me. Like, we're super close.
Yeah, actually, I think I remember asking him about that in the interview. I remembered that stream specifically, and I brought up that I thought his costume was you know, I thought that was just fully a costume that he was wearing because he looked bigger than I thought he would be. And he's like, yeah, it was partially a costume, but some of that was me. But give me like 6 months and I'll look like that. Yeah, but I remember that stream. I think it was around Halloween. I don't know if it was on the dot.
Yeah, it was on the dot. We did
like
a little stream together, so it was pretty cool. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Because now we get to collaborate with each other because we're so close to each other.
Yeah, you guys are definitely, I think, one of the collaborations I feel like that people would have the most fun seeing.
Yeah, it's just so much fun.
So, with you being on the podcast today, I told you before I started that I also had Basehead Rob on for Sunday.
Yes.
I'm actually still trying to get Adam and CJ and Murphy D on here at some point. So far, I haven't reached out to Murphy D about it recently, so I think I might have to re-message him and see if there's any time frame he'd want to try to be on it. He doesn't reach out to me to be on his, though. I mean, that's kind of weird to me. Just saying. I mean, but yeah, I feel like just those guys are people that definitely can give a lot of knowledge to to my community specifically about just content creating in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, real quick, because you're in here, you can have a sword. I don't have anybody else in here that has a sword, and in case there's I want to be famous people, you can hit them with it right away. Okay, so that I feel like is definitely one of the biggest talking points when it comes to streamers and stuff is collaborations. Now, we just talked about the people that live close to you, but is there anybody that is a mid-range streamer, like not big, but not small, that you think you'd want to collab with in the future that is a little further away or would be a little bit hard to communicate with?
That's a good question. So, I would love to actually collaborate with. Are you saying like in person or like kind of just?
Let's go with 3 people for in person and 3 for just through like video or whatever.
Okay. I think in person I like I vibe off people's energy. So like in person,
welcome, Bobbles.
My guy King Cove is like someone that
you collab with Hog, dude.
Yeah, like that would be so much fun to collab with him in person because he's just a good time. Even like my guy like Gally Gonzo, guys like that, like in person, like I feel like we would just have a blast.
Welcome to the stream, Bobbles and Dude. I gave you both swords just so you're aware.
And then another in-person one, which would be honestly, it's my boy Geezy. That's an in-person one that I'm not including the people that I've done with, but
Yeah.
Geezy, Cove, and Downey Gons, those seem like a good time.
Yeah, those are all very fun.
And then over, like, whatever, you know who's a big W? Craigie. I love Craigie.
Craigie is a W. I had him on the podcast this past Monday. I think I had him this past Monday.
He's
And
great. We were supposed to actually, when I was, one of the motivating factors for me to like go full time is I was supposed to travel too and do this at the same time. And
Yeah.
I had a trip for London, and me and Craigie were supposed to hang out. He was like maybe 30 minutes away from where I was going to be. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because COVID kind of just hit its peak when I was about to travel, so that happened. But he would be someone that I would love to do something with, probably like Pokemon or Super Mario related. That would be
I think
that would be sweet.
what would be super fun is if you guys could chat with each other in DMs at some point and maybe collab on like a 2-person Nuzlocke of some kind. There was
those are fun. Those are so much fun.
Like Craig obviously had his one that he already finished, and I think he started one very recently on a different game.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see like a team like effort between the two of you to have a like Nuzlocke that you guys try to run simultaneously.
That'd be pretty cool. That would be really cool.
And a couple other, like, I've watched, I don't know if you've heard of her, but there's a animation artist named Jaden Animations.
Jaden Animations? I haven't.
I'll send you a link to it, but she has a couple Nuzlocke she did.
Okay.
And she did a team one, and I feel like if you guys indicate some of the rules like they did, or, something along the lines of what they did, that would make it a little more difficult, too. One of the things is you guys are both not allowed to have the same type on a team. So if you have fire, he can't have fire.
Got it.
So, yeah, I'll send you those just so you can watch those, and maybe you guys can, chat a little bit, collaborate on some rules and, extra rules and stuff, and maybe we can see that in the future.
That'd be fun. I'd always game for that.
But the thing I feel is definitely the trickiest with collaborations is both people having the time to do a collaboration.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. I struggle with that too. Well, a little bit less now for me, but
yeah.
There's I guess we're grown ups. We got work. We got responsibilities. It's kind of hard, but we'll make it work. If people really want to collaborate together, you always find the time and place.
Well, for example, the first time I had asked you to be on here, I don't remember if I did it before the new account or not, but I remember I think asking you one time before this past time, and that was around the time when you would still not made the leap to full-time content creator, so the schedules couldn't...
My schedule was wild. I was working...
Schedules couldn't sync up, so...
Yeah, schedules at 5. I'd get home at 5:30, and then I would, eat and then get ready for stream, and, it was, I barely had time to, That was honestly one of the worst times for me, just because I couldn't watch streams either. I couldn't even really be a viewer. So that's what kind of sucked, too. So I was... that definitely, I wish I had more time, but now I do, which is good, but...
Yeah, Basehead Rob, I actually spoke to him last week, early on when I was messaging everybody else to get them on as well. He had a vacation this weekend, or this past, couple days, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so that's how he landed on the Sunday time frame, because that's when he'd be done with the vacation he was on and all that stuff. And we had just confirmed the time for that yesterday or the day before. So
nice.
And then there were people like Craigie, where it was, when do you get home from practice? Well, I'd be home when you get back from practice. And so, and him and I actually pre-planned for him to ship his guys over to me that he had in his stream. And he shipped over, I think, 27 people.
Nice.
And and I think about 9 to 12 of them were in there for most of it. So,
That's awesome.
but that was kind of that one being the first one I did where I was trying to return stream basically. That one big raid that made my average go to 9 exactly is basically the only reason I'm affiliated right now, because I had that large gap. I had a little breathing room when I first started, streaming consistently again, to where even if I had 1 or 2 streams, and I did have 1, 2, or 3 streams where I only had myself in here, but because of that 9 one and because I had podcasts in between, that's what kind of saved it from crippling the ability to do so.
Got it.
Okay, so moving on a little bit more into still content creation, but with streaming, I've noticed, have you done a couple tier lists? I remember you doing.
Yeah, I've done a lot of them actually. Usually when Madden's slow, Monday to Sunday, Monday to Wednesday. I think I would say probably Monday is the best day to do them. Monday I would do them because obviously there's no content Monday, no Good Morning Madden, not much going on. So, tier lists are fun. I love tier lists.
Me too. I did a couple of those for TikTok videos, and those did relatively well.
Yeah, I watch Rocks a lot for tier lists now because he has like different people on, like a panel. I think that's fun. It's creative. It's unique. I don't know a lot of people that do that a lot. So I think he found a pretty good niche. You can have a lot of fun with that because you can find tier lists for anything, like
anything and everything.
Yeah, so that's why he found a pretty good niche. I think that's going to be pretty fun.
So not recently, I'd say, but obviously there was a time last year where there wasn't any like community podcasts or like interview segments or anything like that going on. It was kind of last year where Fendler did his Fen Talks and I jumped in with my thing, and Murphy has his podcast as well, which you've been on 2 of those, and the other 2 guys' podcasts as well.
Yeah.
And then we have Lauren and Shopmaster that are, collaborating every Monday, I think it is, to talk about sports and such.
Yeah.
Is there any point where you've considered doing a podcast as well?
The only reason I would say no is because Murph is like one of my best friends in the community, and I wouldn't want to step on his toes because like he's kind of doing his thing, and I respect him enough. I don't want to be like invite a guest and maybe he wanted him as a guest. I don't want to. Honestly, not that I enjoy being on podcasts. Maybe I'm not ideally the best host, but I think I'd rather just be on them rather than host them. I think just for multiple reasons. But
now,
that's definitely one of them.
With you not wanting to host one yourself, would you consider doing like a co-hosting thing, like a weekly co-host or something like that?
Possibly. I definitely have to think about that because as long as it's that'd be something to consider. Like maybe not every week, but maybe like every other week for myself because obviously I'm doing a lot of stuff for myself every week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can add podcasts to the mix, but I would definitely consider it. It's definitely a good idea.
I'll have to remember that because I have an idea for a weekly podcast for football season, much like Lauren and Shopmaster are doing right now. And I'm planning on having alternating co-hosts, so if that ends up being something I do, I'll definitely have to hit you up and see if you're interested down the line for when next season starts.
Yeah, pretty cool.
But so you won't host a podcast because you don't want to step on Murphy's toes, but you will consider co-hosting one at points if the interest is there.
It wouldn't be a weekly thing for sure. Maybe like I jump on every once in a while.
Like once a month or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, I can respect that for sure, because stepping on toes is definitely one of the things that makes it difficult for me to find times to boot up, because I feel like me booting up steps on other people's toes because I'm on the same time as them.
Yeah.
And it feels like even though it doesn't actually ever happen, I could potentially be taking their viewers, and yeah, so that I definitely understand the stepping on toes thing.
Yeah.
But I've also gotten to the point, now this is mainly for a streaming outlook, is there's always going to be other people on that are in the community, so you just have to try to find that time frame where it's the best time for you to try to boot up yourself. And I've done that, I think. Yesterday I mistimed it. No, 2 days ago I mistimed it because I was jumping on, and that was when Fendler did a super late boot up. And so I didn't think he'd be on, and so I'm like, oh, okay, this is a good day to hop on. Like literally right after I started it, and when I got all my audio checks done, that's when he had booted up and he was off his starting soon screen and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, that was unfortunate.
I've learned that obviously I have a lot of friends that I met on here, and I had to just kind of, sometimes I would like stream, depends on like, oh, let me watch this person's stream and then I'll boot up or whatever. The only reason I had to stop doing that is because I need to find a time that's like actually works for me. Like I couldn't do 8 p.m. anymore. Ideally my best time would be early afternoon, like 1 o'clock. That was what I was going to be doing. But the reason why I couldn't do it is because, well, now obviously the people know, like, my wife's pregnant, so she kind of like has some days where she's not, like, she'd rather have me home at night because she's not feeling super well at night. So that made me like change my stream schedule to go like, let's just say 11 to 3 or 4. This way I'm home for like dinners.
Yeah.
So I know ideally it's not my favorite spot because, some of my favorite streamers are on during that time. Like, obviously Adam is on during that time, Fendler's on during that time, so like it's not my favorite time to be live, but I kind of just had to, put my head down and kind of just do it, or else I'm never going to stream, or else I'll just be...
Yeah. And that's something that all of us kind of struggle with, is definitely finding that time slot that works best. Also, shout out to Bubbles for the gifted sub to Looch, by the way.
Oh, Bubbles, thank you, man.
But yeah, like I said, I kind of struggle with that a little bit too, with figuring out when the best time to go live is, and that's why, like, I realize that anytime I put aside an actual, like, for sure time to stream every day, around that time is when everything decides to happen at once. So
yeah,
that's kind of why not only am I a variety streamer, but I'm also a variety time slot guy.
Yeah, that's fine. It's nothing to be...
But it makes it difficult to get consistently the same people even in chats, and that's kind of one of the downsides to it. But it also allows me to maybe get viewers that I didn't think I'd get had I not gone live at that time.
That's true.
And I mean, there was times where I was streaming Final Fantasy VII last year, and I would boot up stream, and I'd notice people like CJ and other people were already live at that point, but I was like, well, I think they've been up a little bit, so if I boot up now, they're probably going to be off in a little bit, and they'll probably, pop in the stream at some point afterwards. And one of the days I thought that is when I actually caught the raid from CJ of about 40-something people, I think it was. And about 15 to 20 of them stayed for the remainder of the stream, so...
Wow.
That was one of my my bigger raids. I think the biggest one I've ever had actually was through, I think it was Geezy with 130 something.
Jeez.
And that was when I was doing the first ever community awards thingy that I did that one time.
Yes, yeah. Do you still do that? Like, I don't remember if you did it last time.
I did do the polls last time, but I didn't end up being able to stream because right around that point is when my other account I couldn't get into. So I'm going to repost them, though, because I have a couple other things I can now use as polls, like newest streamer in the community, best, viewer, best mod. There's a couple extra ones that I didn't have on the first one that I can put on this time.
Yeah.
What a snoozer of a game, though. 0 to 6. That's bad. Did anyone actually do anything, or did everyone just suck? Everyone just sucked. Like, everybody. Was there even any... There was no sacks, no picks. What happened? Everyone just sucked. They just had the better kicker today. That's all there is to it. They have Justin Tucker, though, so that's to be expected. I mean, when you have a man that can boot a 66-yarder, you better make your kicks. Okay, next question for you. I think we're finally able to kind of move a little bit off the streaming and more onto the off-stream type of things.
Yeah.
So what would you say, with community or content creation being your job now, basically, what would you say are your hobbies when you're not streaming?
For me, it's sports. Like, I'm a big sports guy. Hockey, football, basketball, whatever. I would say nights, my biggest sport is, like, watch sports with friends, go out for, dinner, drinks, and just watch sports. I love doing stuff like camping and outdoors. Like, I love outdoorsy stuff. Because I have 2 big dogs, too. We take them for walks, take them to the parks, like that. That stuff is what I do off stream. That's just, most of the time I'm not really out all the time. Like, I still like my days in, watch a movie and chill. But in the summer months and the warmer months, just outdoors, being outside all the time whenever I can. And then, in the winter months, kind of just stay home under the blanket, watching TV, movies, that kind of stuff. It's different here because it's always, the weather is always crazy, so you kind of just have to
adjust it depending on weather.
But so that's for me, that's my biggest hobby: sports and just outdoors.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about recent NFL news.
Sure.
You being a big sports guy, I could probably get some interesting takes from you on some of these.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first major thing that had happened. Rodgers returned to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Did you ever think there was any way he wouldn't have returned to Green Bay? Or
the only reason I thought would be salary cap issues, to be honest.
Yeah, because I think they were like 30-something mil behind before they started making cuts recently. So.
Yeah, but I don't even know how they're going to be compliant. I mean, obviously they're going to be, but I wonder how they're going to get it done, because that's interesting. Because I don't know how they're going to make it work. Because Devontae Adams got technically a pay raise. Apparently Aaron Rodgers' deal, though, wasn't 4 years, 200 million. Apparently it's like more team friendly.
Yeah, I think what he actually tweeted about that himself. He said, "Yeah, I would resign, but the contract isn't what was said, basically." So.
Yeah, so I think what they probably did is probably pushed his cap, like all the heavy cap hits and everything, in the last 2 years, and then maybe he'll retire or something, so they don't have to deal with it now.
That I think is exactly what happened. I think they signed him to definitely like a multi-year, like 2-3 year at max deal worth like maybe 60 to 100 mil, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they'd sign him for fucking 200 or anything like that, because that kills your team entirely,
Yeah, agreed. I think. Yeah, I don't know how they'd make it work, to be honest. Considering their cap, I don't know how it would work, but
with that on top of with Adams returning on the franchise tag and then the re-signing of Rodgers, I believe they released Zadarius Smith or Preston Smith this morning.
I think one of the Smiths.
Yeah, one of the Smiths, and I think that saved them like 12 point something mil, I think is what I read.
Oh, wow.
And, but now the question is, do you keep Jordan Love around in hopes Aaron Rodgers retires sooner? Is he your actual answer, or do you think that it would be smarter to, like, if you were, like, in this position to make this decision, do you think it'd be better to ship him off to another team instead?
I'd probably just ship him off at this point. Like, what you wasted a first round. No, okay. I'm not going to say wasted, because if Rodgers didn't resign, then, you know, you need a quarterback. But
you made a smart pick for what could have happened, but it ended up being a bad pick because it didn't happen.
Yeah, now it looks bad. It looks horrible, because if Rodgers actually stays for 4 years, that could have been a player on their rookie contract. That could have been a big playmaker where they need the cap. And now they're paying, I think his salary cap this year is like $4 million against the cap, and he's not going to start a game. But when you're like super pressed for cap, I don't think you can afford wasting $4 million and throwing it in the garbage. So I think even if they trade him, they got to take on his dead money. So I don't know. I just think that pick was just an L from the start, because like Aaron Rodgers has won MVPs, and like I don't think he's going to retire anytime soon.
I think he definitely, at max, he plays out this contract and then decides to hang it up, I think, is best case scenario.
Which makes sense, but I still think they just took such an L on that.
Now, I believe that Rodgers is the only, like, because the QB room in the NFC is very much a, like, 2-quarterback race right now. It's either Stafford or it's Rodgers. Everybody else kind of after them is steps below both of them by quite a margin, in my opinion. With them now having that extra quarterback, Jordan Love, I feel like you can ship them off to at least half the NFC teams and get a decent haul out of it.
Yeah, you might not get a first, but maybe if you get
I mean, you can get maybe like...
It's value, right? He's been on the bench for how many years?
I think if it's a team like, say, the Giants, Daniel Jones has proven he can win games, but he also has proven he throws a lot of interceptions.
Yeah.
I feel like someone like them would be willing to give up like a second or a third for him, most likely.
Yeah.
And have them kind of compete with Daniel Jones. And the thing is, Jones got injured last year. He could get injured again. Now you'd have a bit more of a chance with someone like Jordan Love as opposed to Mike Glennon.
Yeah. Agreed.
Which I brought up the NFC quarterback room because your thoughts now on the Russell Wilson trade.
Oof, I love that for the Broncos. Loved it.
I feel like both teams won that trade to some degree. Everyone's going to say one team won or the other team won. I feel like they both won. I think the Broncos won a bit more than the Seahawks did.
Just because, okay, here's the thing. Here's the way I look at it. Noah Fant is a good tight end. I wouldn't put him in the S or A tiers yet. He's shown potential, he's shown flashes, but he hasn't, like, you know, he was more hyped up coming out of college. Like, he was supposed to be this, you know, prodigy tight end, but I'm not saying he's not ever going to be, but he's not... for me, I don't think he's like just a good tight end. But now, here's the thing: they gave up Shelby Harris, which I mean, he's a good player, but to get Russell Wilson, you make that trade all day.
Yeah, all day, every day.
They gave up Drew Lock, which of course Russell Wilson replaced him, and a good tight end. I wouldn't say great, but a good tight end. The picks are here. My thing with picks are
the values.
Wilson, that's a for sure thing, and you're going to draft, let's just say Malik Willis or whoever they decide to draft.
Yeah.
They're drafting a quarterback in hopes that he's going to be good, but you already have your for sure thing in Russell Wilson. So I think the Broncos like that. What were the Broncos like? What was the Broncos? What were their weaknesses last year? Really, it's just horrible quarterback play.
Yeah, and like the
Really?
people you mentioned, yeah, Harris had quite a bit of sacks. I believe he had like.
Yeah, he's a good player, but if
He's a good
he
player.
has to be a casualty to get one of the best quarterbacks in the league, he's got to go.
Yeah, plus there's
sure.
always that chance, because right now there's that rumor that, Von Miller will go back. Well, there you go. If you get Von Miller back, that replaces that instantly. And so you become,
exactly.
at that point, if you get Von Miller back, all you lost in the trade really was Noah Fant.
Yeah, exactly. But and even so, like.
Even so, they still definitely won more so than the Seahawks did. Now.
Yeah, so they gave up two firsts and 2 seconds.
Yeah, and I think there was a third in there, but I might be wrong.
I just know for.
I know about the firsts and seconds. I remember there being an extra pick in there, but that one probably was like a third or later round, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. I think.
But to advocate for the Seahawks side of things, they did just give up a. They gave up a fourth. I think it was a fourth. But they got back 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and then they may have gotten a better pick other than a fourth. They could have gotten a third. Now, with the pick situation...
I think it was 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a fifth. So basically
and
the Seahawks... So I would just swap those picks. They got a little value by going up to the fourth. But
with the picks, though, the big problem is you basically just got back the picks you used to get Jamal Adams. Is basically what you did there.
Basically, and that's
then
why I think the Seahawks are in shambles, because if they can't get a quarterback,
yeah.
I heard there's rumors, they're going to go for Deshaun Watson, but we don't know his legal problems. Like,
there's the 2 second picks, obviously. Now the thing with picks is right now they could have been projected to be mid to early first rounds. Well, with Russell Wilson, those might become mid 20 round, mid 20s.
But here's the thing. I think they'll win the trade. I think if the Seahawks draft very well, they could say that's a win for them.
Now,
if you nail all 4 picks and you got 4, you get yourself a really good QB. Like, what if this Malik Willis guy pays out, or next year you get the guy in Alabama, I forgot his name off the top of my head. But let's just say you nail your QB. You got to just nail the drafts. You got to be confident that your scouting staff's going to, like, imagine, get a top 5 picks next year, hit a good QB, and then every other pick, like, you nail it, and then they can win the trade. But
now there's 2 other things I'm thinking along with Seattle side of things. You got Noah Fant, and that means I'm almost certain, because I think they have two guys on contract that need to be re-signed. I think that confirms one of those two tight ends are leaving. Because why would you add a tight end if you already have 2?
Agreed. Yeah,
I think it'll be Will Dissly.
They have one of the best wide receivers. They got Tyler Lockett. They got DK Metcalf. They're talented.
And to be fair with Drew Lock, he obviously, being a Chargers fan, I've seen him twice a season, so I have a pretty good idea of how good or bad he is.
Yes.
I feel like he's definitely a guy that is not great. He's serviceable, I'd say.
I would say at best, like he's a replaceable, good backup. He's like a good.
Now, this could be a prove it thing for him, right? Maybe he gets traded to Seattle, and Seattle gives him this year to prove that he was worth getting in that trade. Or they could go with your route. They could draft a rookie and have him compete with Drew Lock to decide who starts. Because at this point, with a drafted quarterback, you're starting with a clean slate. But with Drew Lock, he could end up unlocking some of his abilities by being there. And plus, with you're getting Shelby Harris, it's a solid player for the Broncos that could be a really good player in your system.
Yeah.
And with you getting Noah Fant, Drew Lock already has a target he's used to throwing to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also why they included Noah Fant, because they wanted to make sure there was a little bit of familiarity between him and one of his targets, so they know that he has one target he can definitely rely on, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing about the draft pick situation is the fact that Seattle has not nailed draft picks since 2012.
I know, that was my second thought.
Because the last 2 they nailed on...
Draft,
The last picks they nailed on was in 2012, who are, by the way, the person they traded away and the person they cut the same day. Bobby Wags and Russell Wilson were their two last really good picks.
Yeah, so then that starts to make me wonder, like, oh, crap, like, now that's not looking too great for them in terms of...
Because you lost the leader on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, basically.
And who knows, Drew Lock might be a decent leader for them. Who knows? But you're not going to replace Bobby Wags in the draft.
No.
You're not.
Sure. That's tough. Wherever he goes, I don't know how much money he's going to make, but it's worth it on not only salary-wise, but leadership in the locker room, like being the captain on defense. Like, whatever team he goes to is super lucky.
I mean, come on. The best bet for the Seahawks to have a leader right now, their best bet to have a leader on defense at the moment, would be who exactly? Like...
The Seahawks?
Yeah, the Seahawks defense don't have a leader. Like, yeah, you could maybe say Jamal Adams, but I feel like he's definitely not ready for that role if that's who you'd consider being a leader, right?
I don't think so either. I agree.
Now, the question is, with the Bobby Wagner being released thing, is there even a linebacker on the, like, in free agency right now that could even, like, at least step into the leadership role, not so much to predict, the projection of stats or anything like that, but just the leadership?
They'll probably just grab a veteran that's looking like at the end of their career, looking for just a good payday send-off. I don't think they're going to get anyone great. I think...
Like, best bet right now, if he doesn't go back to Denver, would be them getting someone like Von Miller would be your best bet at replacing Bobby Wagner.
See, I think Von Miller, like...
But I don't think he does that. I think he goes back to Denver.
I agree. I don't even think he'd want to go there. I think he wants to win.
Exactly, and he knows with Russell Wilson he wins games.
Agreed, and he just won a Super Bowl. I don't think he goes to Seattle. I think you're going to get, like, a player that maybe needs a year for, either they had a down year and they're looking to prove themselves, or a veteran that, wants to get paid at this point. I don't think a lot of athletes want to be a part of a rebuild. Like,
yeah, definitely not. Like,
you're winners. Like, you're built to win. You don't want to go out there and lose. But, there's some people that,
and
their pride aside.
The thing with quarterback for the Seahawks, too, before we move on to the next trade, the Seahawks had Russell Wilson for 10 years. Before that, they had Matt Hasselbeck for a little while.
Jeez, yeah.
And I don't remember between those two who was between those two quarterbacks, but I know there was a guy who played there for like a year or two before they got Wilson. The thing with quarterbacks, though, is when you draft one, it's a very much a hit or miss coin flip type of situation.
Yeah.
You could draft a quarterback and they could end up like Tua, who is right now at best a mid-tier quarterback.
Yeah.
Or, because if whoever gets drafted there, they'll have the better weapons, arguably, than Tua does right now.
Yeah.
But
I like Tua.
They'll also have higher expectations.
Yeah.
Because Tua stepping in for Ryan Fitzpatrick and Ryan Tannehill, like, there's not that high expectation there. Whoever goes there has to step into the shoes of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, that's tough.
And you're either going to get someone who does what Herbert did and just comes out of nowhere and plays really well, or you're going to get the guy like the people I just mentioned who aren't going to be able to step in that role and just aren't ready for it yet.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next trade, also having to do with quarterback, Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. Now, you being a Cowboys fan, you've dealt with Carson Wentz before.
Yeah.
You actually had to deal with him during his potential MVP season before his injury.
Yeah.
Now, he's definitely not the same player.
I agree.
Injuries and having to do way too much for trying to keep his team in games definitely has studded him a little bit. But I do believe he's better than Taylor Heineke.
We were comparing stats the other day. I think he's good.
Basehead Rob, how you doing, man?
If Heineke is like a, I don't know, out of 10, 5 out of 10, maybe.
Yeah.
Wentz is like maybe a 6. Like, it's not like...
I'm doing good, Basehead. Thanks for asking, man.
It's not a huge difference, in my opinion. Like, is that worth many more wins? I don't think so.
I will say this, with Wentz going to Washington, he has a better wide receiver core there, in my opinion. Not by much. But better.
But
better.
Fair enough. They have at least a big, like, McLaurin.
He does have a worse running back that won't be able to carry him like they did last season.
That's the problem, because now...
Offensive lines, about the same.
Colts are way... I think they're a little better with Quentin Nelson, at least.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't have... Well, I'm basing it off last year when Quentin didn't play.
Okay, fair enough.
So they're kind of even, but with Quentin Nelson, it's way, like, more so on the Colts side of things there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Defensively, that's arguable, because the Washington had a lot of people out last season, so...
Yeah, they had Chase. Actually, you know what? I would say that they have a better defense. They definitely have
a healthy Washington football team defense is better than a healthy Colts defense.
Yeah, all day. Yeah.
So if they have a healthy defense next year, and with the factors we have in mind, and the thing is, he still has, by the way, Asante Samuel getting a pick 6, though. That's pretty awesome. On Joe Burrow, nonetheless. But with that being, like, something you think about, he definitely has a better line than he did in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He has a slightly worse line with the Colts. But I think what's going to make the difference is, does he feel like he has to do everything on this team? Because that's what kind of destroyed his career in Philadelphia, is he had to do everything.
Yeah. Well, the problem is Antonio Gibson is good. Is he great? I don't know yet.
Debatable.
He's had spurts. He's definitely had spurts that he's shown he's very good. So, I mean, we'll see. I don't think he's going to succeed. Okay, actually, here's the thing. The NFC East stinks. So, there's no surprise that it's not a good division. So, I think he'll
the
be
thing
alright
is,
because the NFC, he gets to play Dallas, who doesn't have a great defense. Philly doesn't have the greatest defense, and the Giants. So,
thanks, Basehead. I appreciate that.
But, like I said, at the same time, he had, Jonathan Taylor took a lot of pressure off of him.
Basehead Rob, thanks for the subscription, my friend. I appreciate that.
So, you know what I mean? It's,
the thing with Carson Wentz, though, is I feel like he's going to make them the second best team in the NFC East.
Oh, I think they already are without him.
The only thing that holds them back right now is they do have to play Dak Prescott 2 times a year.
Agreed, yeah.
Now, the question is, with the Cowboys situation, because obviously there's a big chance Amari Cooper leaves the team.
Yeah, he's gone for sure.
You can sign Michael Gallup now.
Yeah, I love Michael Gallup.
And Michael Gallup's really fucking good. Like, in my opinion, he's been really good.
I thought he was going to go to the Chargers, and I was upset because he's young, and to let him go, because especially that he got injured, like, he is incredible. Like,
that would be like...
I don't know how many Cowboys games he watched.
That would be like the Cowboys getting rid of Dak Prescott after last year.
He's just super talented. He always makes plays. He's got a motor on him. Like, I'm a huge Gallup fan.
The guy at Gallup, I've seen enough highlights to know this. He definitely plays at 100% every game.
Every snap.
He puts all his effort into it, and that's what I feel like separates him from a lot of other receivers.
Yeah, like, I love Amari Cooper, but if he had to go, like, I'm not saying, like, he's definitely the best wide receiver on the team. Like, I know CeeDee Lamb has potential to be the one, but I honestly think that if Amari were to go, I would not be upset at all. I wouldn't be as upset because I know how good Gallup is. Like, I've seen it. I watch it every week, and he's just built. He's got something in him.
All right. How are you doing, Morgs? We're doing a nice interview here. We're talking sports right now, but We'll move on to another topic here pretty soon, actually, because we only have a couple more things to chat about when it comes to sports. But I think, have you heard why Amari Cooper is probably leaving?
I think it's like, I think it has to do with I think it's...
It doesn't have to do with...
I think he's more upset about how, not he was treated at the end of last season, I just think that it was, he wasn't getting his targets.
Believe it or not, because you're probably going to talk about his decreased production. It doesn't have to do with production. It doesn't have to do with... It doesn't have to do with cap.
I don't know what it...
The
Honestly,
real reason why, and this is obviously could still be a rumor, but I did see a pretty credible source tweet about it. It's actually because him and Dak got into a verbal confrontation after the last game. I feel like that's why they're letting Amari go. That's why they're sending him off. Because if you have that, anytime your receiver argues with your quarterback or they get into a heated thing or whatever, you're going to have to take the quarterback side because it's hard to replace quarterbacks.
It's way harder. Dak is good. I love Dak.
Especially someone like Dak Prescott. If he gets into an argument with any wide receiver, that wide receiver, if they have to get rid of somebody, the wide receiver is the one that goes. Because you cannot replace Dak in the draft. The only way you'd replace Dak is if somebody else that's equal or better than him hits the free agency, and there's not a lot of people better or on par with Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Apparently, Deshaun Watson is not being charged.
Oh, is that like something that was tweeted about recently?
News, yeah, like Adam Schefter.
Hold on, let me actually look at that real quick.
15 minutes ago.
Let me actually look at
criminal
that.
Charges.
Now, does that mean I wonder if that means that their investigation came up empty.
Oof, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of speculation.
But the fact that he's not getting charged, I feel like that means that they could not find anything on him, and so they had to just drop it. That's what I think happened, honestly. Because this is like, was like an entire year after the allegations?
Yeah.
And so...
It's been...
I feel like that's what had to have happened, or at least in some way, shape, or form had to have happened.
Yeah, I don't... Oh, my. This is going to be interesting because... Jeez, I don't know.
Also, let's talk about this real quick. Raiders re-signed Max Crosby, 4-year deal worth $98.98 million.
98?
$98.98 million.
God damn, 4 years, 90. That's almost 25 a year, almost. Holy, that's good for him. Holy cow, he got paid.
So that I feel like he's in my division, but he's definitely one of, if not the best edge rushers. Probably, no, I'm not going to say one of the best because he's not. It was one good season. But he's definitely in the top end of the discussion for DNs being really, really good.
Oh yeah, I only think he's incredible just because he has I want all players on my team that have a high motor, and he stayed in. I read he played the most consecutive snaps without taking a series off, or he just doesn't stop. And to have that on your team, I feel like he would just be the captain. He would just lead them to where they go on a beat, just because of how he's very vocal. He's got it's like if your captain is your best player and he works the hardest, it's like you just want to play for him. Okay,
so let's loop back to Watson real quick. Okay, so currently I feel like, and I talked about this during the last podcast, I feel like if you knew you were guilty of something, you would have taken a plea deal.
Would make sense, yeah.
So the fact that as soon as Watson turned down any plea deal, I feel like that was a pretty big thing with he's 98% likely to be innocent. Because there's always that percentage that they just don't want to admit it to.
Yeah.
But a grand jury has dismissed the criminal charges, which means whatever evidence was there was not enough to charge him, if any. And I talked about this in the last podcast. I said I didn't think he did it. From the very beginning, I didn't think he did it. Because the circumstances around it were too fluky, too coincidental, right? Because do you remember when this came out, right?
Yeah.
It was right after he said he didn't want to play for the Texans anymore.
Got it.
And
It's more like,
and the lawyers happens to know the owner of the Texans, like personally, and he just happens to want to advocate for all the people who have these cases that randomly got brought up around the same time.
Kind of interesting. I didn't even know that, to be honest.
Most importantly, though, and I feel like this is definitely the most important part of it, if these were real allegations, right? If these were true allegations, why would you go after the guy when he doesn't have the money to pay all of you?
Yeah.
Why didn't you wait until he got his extension and then did it?
Go for it.
See what I mean? All that
Yeah.
from the beginning told me that this is BS. And now I'm going to go into every single TikTok that immediately pinned in as guilty and laugh at them. Because I knew he wasn't. Okay, but I'm done with my impassionate speech about how I was right about Deshaun Watson not being guilty. But on the thing of Watson, he's going to get traded. 100%.
Yeah, and
Where does he go is the question.
You think he goes to Seattle?
He could go to Seattle. He could go to Seattle because the Steelers are already targeting somebody else.
Who are the Steelers going to get, you think?
I saw it on a freaking thing with the hashtag NFL free agency thing. They were targeting some like mid-tier or lower upper tier quarterback, I believe, last I was looking. But they could decide to abandon that and just offer something for Watson too, now that they know he doesn't have those allegations against him anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Now it's a clean slate.
See, now with Watson, he could go to either of the New York teams other than, Buffalo.
Yeah.
He could go to Steelers. He can go to... Vikings might even make a play at him if they really wanted to. Honestly, if the Vikings want to compete with the Packers this year, what better way to do it than to get Deshaun Watson?
I mean, that is true.
He's a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins by quite a margin, just athletic ability-wise. But, any team in the NFC East would kill to have Deshaun Watson on their team right now, outside of Dallas. Pretty sure, anyways.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
NFC West, that's the Rams. Seattle. Arizona and the Rams are probably wouldn't go after him, but the other two, especially Tampa, maybe.
Would be a good fit. You know what? I think Tampa's going to explode. The only reason I say that is because...
Well, Ali Marpet's gone. Tom Brady's gone.
Yeah, I mean, their weapons are still there, but I think, Gronk, is going to leave.
But the problem with anybody who trades for him is they're going to have to still give up a lot to get him.
Yeah, hell yeah. They're going to give up...
Now, hear me out.
It'll be a little less than... Russ.
It'll be a little less than Russ, but it'll still be pretty close, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll definitely be.
It'll be at least the 2 first-rounders is definitely going to be part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like, with that being in mind, someone like Tampa might be a good fit because they do have depth at certain spots that the Texans need. Like corner.
Corner, yeah.
Linebackers.
David, Shaq Barrett, Devin White.
I think if the Bucks go after him, they send the 2 first rounds, Levante David, and whoever their third corner is.
Yeah.
And maybe toss Scotty Miller in there, but I feel like that's the trade that the Texans would try to go for if the Bucks were to call them.
Yeah, I agree. I like Scotty Miller. I think
Because that gives you, at minimum, 1 piece, or at minimum 2 pieces on defense plus 2 first rounds, and right now you have none. And potentially a third string slot receiver that has proven to be pretty good when he gets the football.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's move on to the trade that broke yesterday. Khalil Mack to the San Diego Chargers, well, formerly San Diego Chargers, now LA Chargers, for a second and a sixth. That, to me, I feel like just the fact that that was a trade, like we got Khalil Mack alone was shocking to me.
Yeah.
But now add on top of it.
The thing is, I think the price was that cheap to take on the whole contract. I think that's the only reasoning that it would be cheap. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's one of the few things that I thought it could be too, is that the contract, though big, they didn't have to give up a lot to have to take it on. They still have their first round, so they can still use that on whatever they want to use it on.
But they had cap space, the Chargers, they got a lot.
Yeah, they had I think the first or second most at the start of free agency, and after one day, after the Dolphins did something, or Jags did something, they became the first in cap space.
Yes. So now they have...
and I think they knew they had a lot of cap. They knew they didn't have an insane amount of people they were going to re-sign. So why not use the picks, take on a contract, and get Bosa the help he needs?
Yeah. I think it was a great trade.
Yeah, most definitely.
Here's the thing. Herbert's got 2 more years. You gotta win on his rookie contract because he's gonna get paid.
Yeah, Derwin's getting paid soon too.
Yeah, you gotta win. This is honestly, if I was their GM this year, I would go for J.C. Jackson. I would go for everybody. The next 2 years, you gotta win.
Just look at what the Rams did and duplicate it. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, you just screw the picks. You gotta just sell the farm and go for it. There's only certain windows to be super competitive. You gotta take advantage of these windows, and you gotta win now. There's no wasting time anymore.
Yeah, and with you picking up now Khalil Mack, you'll have the pass rush to potentially neutralize the other quarterbacks in the division, or at least make it a little bit harder on them.
Oh, it'll be really hard. Joey Bosa, I know they'll probably draft an interior lineman, is my guess.
Yeah, I think they drafted DT.
Yeah, I think they draft interior linemen, and then I don't know. I'm not sure. I just think they draft interior linemen and maybe a splash on a corner like a J.C. Jackson, and then I think they're good. Apparently there's a guy, I forgot his name, the Chargers are linked to. He's an interior lineman. He's amazing.
I remember seeing that earlier today. I can't remember who it was either, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I just forgot his name.
There's a chance they get Akeem Hicks.
See, he can play nose tackle or something. I don't know if he's...
Yeah, because if you can get someone like Akeem Hicks and you end up keeping Linval Joseph, that eats up the people in the middle, and you can't double team both Bosa and Mack at that point.
No. They're going to be a problem. They're definitely going to be a problem.
And the thing is, we're one corner away, which J.C. Jackson will fix that, to having a pretty complete defense at this point.
Yeah, I don't see any holes. If you get a corner, I think they'll struggle. They struggle at corner this year for sure,
But I think Asante Samuel takes a step forward.
I think so. I just think he needs that.
But we need a true number one corner. Michael Davis is a second string guy. Asante can play the slot, but we need another boundary corner.
Yeah, agreed.
I think J.C. Jackson's that guy.
I 1,000,000,000% think.
If you sign him and you get Tyrann Mathieu too, that's what
Honestly, I don't even know if I would use the cap space on Tyrann Mathieu. I think I'd probably use it on I'd probably go. I mean, obviously, that we're assuming they're gonna get Akeem Hicks, but
yeah.
if they spent the money, got Akeem Hicks, a corner, and drafted a O-line or...
Here's what I think in terms of safety, right? You have Nasir Adderley.
Oh, yeah, they don't have a free safety.
Yeah, that's where Nasir Adderley plays right now.
Yeah.
So what I would do is, if you don't get Akeem Hicks, then you go for Tyrann Mathieu. And here's why. Nasir Adderley's not a bad safety. Tyrann Mathieu is near what, pretty close, if not arguably maybe a little bit better, though I don't think he's a little bit better, than Derwin James. Now,
they're very close.
Now, if you get Tyrann Mathieu, right, you can now send Derwin James on more blitzes and not sacrifice coverage.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only reason I want Tyrann or I feel like we should get Tyrann, is because when you send Derwin, you can have that guy that's a veteran that knows not to get out of the lane that he needs to be in.
Yeah.
And so if we can get him and JC or JC and Akeem, I think that completes the defense.
I agree. I think they'll be pretty stacked, if I'm going to be honest.
And
I don't think... I mean, that's a Super Bowl contending team if I've ever seen one.
Especially if you look...
Tough, but...
Mind you, this is a couple years into the future, so this won't be a accurate representation of where they're at now. But I think Tyrann's probably going to still be on the Chiefs in the game, I would assume. Because the game, for whatever reason, doesn't let the Chiefs get rid of many people.
Got it.
Okay, you see, Tyrann's at strong safety, so he plays strong safety when Derwin's blitzing, and then you can put one or the other at free safety when you don't want Nasir on the field.
Yeah.
But he's a 90 right now, 96 actually, and you have Derwin who's close to that as well, and so that means they've both played really good enough in real life to have really, really high 90-ish stats, basically.
Yeah.
And add to that the fact that you might get J.C. Jackson, who I actually need to see if the Patriots actually still have him in the game. But if you get J.C. Jackson, just based on his production this year, that's a win.
Of course, yeah.
There's no way.
For sure, no.
Yeah, see, J.C.'s a 92 in the game. So you have him, Asante, Michael Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, Derwin James.
Wow.
That's a no-hole secondary.
None. There's literally none. I think they got a couple big pieces. I think they'd be Super Bowl
And here's the thing: we need to focus.
I would say Super Bowl.
We need to focus on defense a lot, regardless, because we know the offense can keep up with the Chiefs. We know that. We know they can keep up with just about anybody. But you also need to be able to stop them so you can not have to stay neck and neck or hope you can come back every game.
Yeah. What do you think about Mike Williams signing?
I was a little bit on the fence.
I'm on the fence with that one.
I'm on the fence too, and here's why. The contract isn't that bad, to be honest. 3 years, $60 million with I think it was 10 or 15 mil, or a decent number was guaranteed upon signing, right?
Yeah.
So on one end, we could have probably signed someone who was maybe a little bit better, if not on par with him, for a little bit less money.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, the reason why I'm okay with it is Herbert advocated for him to come back. He said he wanted Mike Williams back on the team.
But you kind of got to do it, right?
At that point, your quarterback's vouching for him to be signed, so you have to sign him at that point.
Yeah.
And the trust he has in Mike Williams is very important to keeping that offense going, because Keenan only has a couple more years left before he can't play at an elite level anymore.
Yeah, because he doesn't have speed. He's got the best route running, but if his speed goes to nothing, then.
So that's the other reason why I'm okay with the Mike Williams signing, is because Keenan's in his 30s now. He's still one of the best route runners in football.
Actually, you know what? Do you think the Chargers maybe just draft a wide receiver? The class is deep.
Yeah, I think we draft him because we just tenured Jalen Guyton. And
Yes.
And we have Joshua Palmer, who can still develop into somebody really good.
Yeah.
And if we draft a wide receiver, then now we have depth at wide receiver. So if something like last year happens where both Mike and Keenan can't play, we'll have the depth to where it won't matter.
Yeah.
Thanks for the congrats, Able So Real. If I pronounce that wrong, you can correct me. But that's how I read it. So.
Yeah, I like.
So another shocking thing that I think happened recently is the fact that Tyler Lockett is on the trade block right now.
Tyler Lockett?
Yeah, Tyler Lockett's on the trade block too. They're fielding offers for him, I believe, is what I last heard. Now, if you just so happen to feel like you should trade him, the defect of that thing is it'll prove 1,000% that you're rebuilding. Like, you have zero confidence in the team.
Yeah, you're right.
The only one that's so far mentioned that's untouchable and isn't going to get traded is DK Metcalf. That's the only one they outwardly say they're not trading.
Yeah.
So, to me, if you trade Tyler Lockett, you're going to have to get either a decent pick package or you need to find a okay or good receiver and maybe some picks to make that trade worth it.
True, yeah.
And at this point, it's like Tyler Lockett could help. Hell, a good example, send him to the Eagles.
Yeah, that's true.
They have the picks for it, and he can easily pair up with what's his name?
Devontae Smith?
Yeah, Devontae Smith. That's a good 1-2 wide receiver, and then you'll have a rotation for slot receiver.
Yeah.
But there's not a huge amount of teams that wouldn't just draft a wide receiver either. So we'll see what happens with that later.
Yeah.
Now, in more Cowboys news, you saw this too. Leo Collins on the trade block.
Yeah, that's strictly shedding salary purposes.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I'm pretty sure he eats up quite a bit of cap.
He's getting a $5 million raise this year. It's his last year, if I'm not mistaken. So he's. I'm okay with that. I can live with that.
Let me see here real quick.
He was injured last year too. I think that.
See, Leo Collins in the game anyways, and this might not be accurate. So for those watching, take it with a grain of salt. But, yeah, this is the year after, so we should know what his salaries are here in just a minute. Am I doing the wrong thing? Okay, yeah, I'm still on. There you go. Yeah, see, he'd be like 15 mil or something like that in 2020.
Yeah, he's getting a big.
So yeah, that's gonna shed you guys about 20 mil off your books.
Yeah, so I'm okay with. I mean, I think they'll draft a tackle. Well, it depends where it goes because if Amari Cooper leaves, I don't think Collins gets traded. If Amari Cooper stays, then I think he'll get cut, and then I think DeMarcus Lawrence might just be a casualty. Yeah, they got to shed some cap. Well, I know they cut Blake Jarwin and Greg Zuerlein. But Greg Zuerlein was horrible last year, so I don't really care about that. He missed so many extra points. It was painful to watch.
That makes sense.
I'm okay with that, but yeah, I think this is gonna be interesting in Cowboy land. The only reason why it's pretty cool is because we have a bad division. So really, as long as we can keep up with as long as we can beat Washington twice a year, well, chances are we'll win the division because the Eagles aren't the greatest, the Giants aren't the greatest. So that's what they got going for them.
The Giants are in a pretty perpetual rebuild too, of sorts.
Eagles are kind of here and there. They're okay. They're very, I don't know, Jalen Hurts, who knows?
Yeah, who knows with that specific situation there.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Jalen Hurts. I think he definitely needs to improve his. But I mean, we'll see. I gotta give him more of an opportunity. He's only been in the NFL. Like that was his first starting year, so I don't like to shit on a dude that was okay his first year. If he's bad this year and the year after, then then I'll judge. But
yeah,
right
definitely.
now, I think he's okay at best. Nothing special, but I think we got the best. I think we got the best quarterback in the division, so I'm okay with that.
Now another question for you and pertains to the Colts because we talked about them earlier. Are they potentially someone you could see getting Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I don't see why not. They got a good O-line, so at least he'll be protected for once in his life. They got a good running back, so it's his first year back. He took a year off. Like to ease yourself into it, that's great. Have a good run game. They probably need a better defense. They got some players, but if you spend all your draft capital this year, they got a couple thirds. Grab a couple corners, grab a couple safeties, then, it's not the worst thing.
That's what I was thinking, too, because their defense isn't bad. Honestly, they're not. The problem I feel like last year that done them in a couple of games is that those were the games that Wentz did not play well either. And so they were entirely one-dimensional.
Yeah, I have an ideal spot where I thought that Deshaun Watson would thrive like day one.
Where would that be?
I think it would be the Steelers, honestly. They have
a top
three defense.
Yeah, top 3 defense. They have their line they're going to have to do a little bit of work on, but Deshaun's been behind a shit line a couple times and has done well, so.
He's been behind the worst, and the reason why I was thinking the Steelers is because if they said they were not in talks, but they wanted to get a player like Brandon Sheriff on Washington.
Now, if they get Brandon Sheriff and they do trade for...
They said they were going to draft a tackle.
If they draft a tackle...
What if they nail obviously it might not be as good as the Slaters or whatever it is, but, let's say they nail the tackle.
Let's just say with the tackle, they get a good lineman. Not great, not like Slater or anything like that, but if you can get someone that can hold up on that side along with Brandon Sheriff, then you get Deshaun Watson. That could also, with the Steelers, that could lure Juju Smith to resign.
Possibly. You know what? I don't even know if they need him. The reason why I'm saying that is because they got Claypool. Deontay Johnson, if he fixes a little bit of drop issues, he's super great. I'm a big Deontay Johnson fan. They got 2 good receivers.
Yeah, they have Najee Harris.
They got Najee Harris. They got some. They really just need an offensive line.
And keep in mind,
their offensive line is in shambles.
And keep in mind too, with the Steelers, what really killed them last year was Big Ben was not that good.
No, he was.
Big Ben was absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, I agree.
You get Watson, that fixes it.
I know, and he's insane.
And that will immediately make the Steelers favorites to win that division again.
I agree. I think that's the best fit, but at the same time, do the Steelers want Deshaun Watson? I don't know.
Who knows? Because as I brought up before earlier this morning, I did see they were interested in a different quarterback, and that was before the Deshaun Watson news broke, but it was more of a mid-tier guy, so maybe they get Watson instead. Maybe they take a shot on the mid-tier guy, even though there's not really reason not to get Watson.
Yeah.
But let me look real quick, because I think Adam Schefter was the one who reported this too, though I could have been wrong. It could have been one of the other 3 or 4 people that keep track of these things.
Yeah.
But with Deshaun Watson's contract, though, is a bit troublesome because it would be a 35 mil cap hit, 37 mil cap hit, and then 32 mil cap hit for the last 2 years of it. That's something we have to factor in, too. What team could reliably pay him that? Which...
I can check right now on, NFL salary cap space. Let's see, on Sport Track, the Colts have the most cap space.
Yeah, because of the Chargers taking on Khalil Mack's contract.
Seahawks have a lot of cap space, but I don't know if he goes there. The Dolphins... Dolphins have a lot of cap space. Interesting. The Jags is not going to go there. The Bears is not going to go there. The Jets, he's not going to go there. The Raiders, no. The Bengals, no. The Broncos, no. Chargers, no. Steelers have $28 million in cap space.
So they could definitely have a chance at getting him.
Yeah, I think that, in my opinion, I can't see a better fit.
All they have to do is all they have to do with the Steelers have to do for this season specifically is shed 10 mil in cap, and you can get him.
Yeah, well, they have. I just looked at their team right now. T.J. Watt worth every penny. It doesn't matter. Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Joe Schobert. They can probably shed someone like Zach Banner, who's a replaceable tackle at best, and he makes about almost $7 million. So,
Also, I don't know if you saw this, but the Cowboys are interested in bringing in Bobby Wagner.
Oh my lord! I don't know how they make that work,
but this is what it says: Cowboys have contacted free agent linebacker Bobby Wagner and expressed their interest in having him play for DC. Dan Quinn, who coached him in Seattle. Whether the financial components work out is yet to be determined. The two will keep in contact the next few days.
Yeah, that might be tough. As of this second, the Cowboys have $3 million in cap space. So unless DeMarcus Lawrence gets cut, because it looks like he's about to make $27 million this year, I don't see it happening. Amari Cooper makes 22. Dak's going to make 19 this year. Zeke's going to make 18. Tyron Smith, Lale Collins, Zach Martin, Jordan Lewis. Yeah. Unless DeMarcus Lawrence gets cut and they draft a D-line, but then you get dead cap. So you can't even just cut them.
Yeah, so I don't think the Cowboys thing will work out unless they give him a very small deal and he takes it just to be on a competitive team. I don't think they can get him.
No, I think the only way is Amari Cooper, because if they cut him, they only keep $6 million on the books versus 22 he's going to get paid. So if Amari's gone. Then yes.
If Amari stays, then no.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, okay, well, this could be a thing that happens, and then I remembered, well, how would Dallas be able to afford to pay him?
Oh yeah, no chance. I think he goes to the Broncos.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't like it because we'd have to play him twice a season. But also,
26 million cap, and they got that's including Russell Wilson. They got some cap space. That would be cool. That would make probably the best division in football. I would like that. I would like that for entertainment purposes. You might not like it as much as a Chargers fan, but as a neutral, I think that would make it the best division in football, and I think that's cool as hell.
Most definitely.
3 quarterbacks, 4, including Derek Carr, go head-to-head for 6 games per team per year. That's awesome. You don't get to see that much.
Another thing we saw too, which I forgot to bring up, was
Is there a better quarterback group in a division? I don't think so.
Absolutely not. Well, let's actually talk it out real quick. NFC East is Mac Jones, Josh Allen, Tua, and I don't even remember who the last fucking guy is.
Oh, Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Definitely not better. AFC North. Joe Burrow. Right now, Baker Mayfield. Lamar Jackson, and Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
No. NFC or AFC South, David Mills. No. Trevor Lawrence. No. Whoever the fuck the Colts have. No. And yeah, there's no shot that one's better. NFC North, Rodgers, Goff, Cousins, and Fields. Really, the only thing that cancels out is Rodgers and Mahomes. Everything else is like definitely AFC West is better in that case.
Yeah, agreed.
NFC South would be Jameis Winston as of now. I don't think they've re-signed him, but that's who they last had, so that's how I have to base it off of. Kyle Trask. Yikes. Matt Ryan and a quarterback carousel in Carolina. No.
Yeah.
NFC East, Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones, and Jalen Hurts. No. NFC West, Stafford, Murray, Drew Lock, and I don't know who the last person is. No. So AFC West is definitely the best quarterback division for sure.
Yeah, by a landslide.
Not even remotely close.
No, it's not. Unless Deshaun Watson goes to the Steelers, that's...
Kirk was ranked 6th best quarterback last season. No Kirk slander allowed. Well, this is my chat, and Kirk is not better than any of the 4 quarterbacks in the AFC West, except arguably Derek Carr. But, yeah, we'll go with that. Just Kirk sucks. Kirk sucks. Shut up. Okay, here's the problem with Kirk Cousins, since he was brought up. He's really good. I'm not going to say he's bad. I'm not going to say he's great. He's definitely underrated, in my opinion, by a lot of people. But he's not a top 10 quarterback.
No.
He's at best a top 15 quarterback when you take everything into consideration.
Agreed. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's great either.
I feel like the only way we'd know who's better between Carr and Kirk Cousins would be if they actually played each other with even teams. That's the only way we'd know for sure with those two. I feel like they're kind of on the same level, to me, anyways. Like, they both put together really good stats, they just don't win enough games.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time Derek Carr has won double-digit games? Last season, yeah, well, whatever. Brandon Staley was stupid and called a timeout. I ignore that one. The last time before that was when he broke his femur?
Yeah, femur, yeah.
That was the last time before last year that he had won more than 10 games.
Yeah.
And he has played, he's played very well. His team has played like garbage, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Kirk can't even gritty. That's a good counter argument. Mac Jones is gritty during the Pro Bowl was funny.
Yeah, that was very funny. I'm not a big Mac Jones fan, but it is what it is.
Neither am I. Like I said that he could have the potential to be the Herbert of this draft, but that's giving him too much credit too after 1 year with Bill Belichick as your coach.
Yeah.
If you don't have Bill Belichick, you have a lot better ground to stand on. But considering what Herbert did with Anthony Lynn as his coach...
Yeah, Anthony Lynn's in shambles, isn't he?
Yeah, I have no idea where he even is anymore.
Yeah, he's shambles.
I think it was the Vikings. He was one of the teams in the NFC's the D coordinator, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's shambles now. Imagine saying Herbert's a backup for a reason. Couldn't be me.
Yeah,
he doesn't know talent, apparently, because, he thought Herbert wasn't good, and that he'd be a bust, and that he's a backup for a reason, and then he just went on to have the best rookie quarterback season ever.
Yeah.
And then he backs that up with arguably a better season this year. Herbert is a backup. I mean, considering you have Kirk Cousins, I don't think you have much room to say who's a backup here.
That's funny.
I'm sorry, Herbert floods like anybody that the Vikings have had in the last 20 years. Don't care.
Yeah, because Brett Favre was like older, right, when he went?
Yeah, he went there. That's like the best quarterback they've had in the last 20 years that they can say was really good.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, because Matt fucking Castle would be better than Herbert. No, that's bad.
Oh, Matt Castle's shambles, dude.
Imagine being Matt Castle, having a year where you go 10 and something while replacing Tom Brady, and then just become absolute trash on the very next team after they gave you a payday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Couldn't be me. Okay, so that is kind of all that's went on in free agency that's really worth talking about. I don't think there's enough, or there's much more we can say when it comes to that. Okay, see, Kyle is such a troll here. Like, who the fuck says Rosen is anything at all other than should not have been drafted? I mean, the guy kind of deserved what he got. Oh, the other teams made a mistake not picking me. Your play says otherwise. That's a thing with some quarterbacks. You get quarterbacks that are, like, super obnoxious, egotistical type of people. I'm not going to name a lot of them, but Rosen's one of them. And then you have humble guys. Like, Dak was super humble, I remember, in his first season.
Yeah.
He's still humble now, but I'm saying it was on, like, full display his first season.
Yeah, Dak is...
Herbert, dude, doesn't even like being on camera half the time, okay?
Yeah.
Like, how much more humble do you need?
It's true.
Dak is ass, apparently.
Well, he likes Kirk Cousins, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, Kirk Cousins is not a good factor here. Murphy D, if you're like lurking in the chat, sorry, but Kyle's making me do it. He's making me do it. He's overselling Kirk Cousins. Like, every team has overpaid for him since basically the beginning. But like I said, Kirk Cousins, I don't hate him. I really don't. I think he deserves more credit for what he does do. But he's always had a decent team around him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's definitely not someone like Deshaun Watson, who somehow squeezed 5 or 6 wins out of a Texans team that was absolute garbage 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Like, Kirk cannot bring his team, like, if his team put him on the Jags and he plays like shit.
Oh, yeah.
Any quarterback, I guess, that you put on the Jags would probably not play well, to be fair.
Agreed.
Like the Jets, same thing. Put him on the Broncos and he probably played better, actually. Herbert is faking it. Kirk is better than prime Brady. 5 wins isn't the only thing he squeezed. Are you talking about some innuendos between you and Kirk, buddy? You can't talk that way in chat.
That's funny. I really think he squeezed.
I don't know, man. Watson. I mean, if you haven't heard the news, he's been cleared of all that, so I'm not sure what that means anymore.
True, he did get cleared, yep.
And I did read the post. They did go through all the evidence and did not charge him. So
Okay, good.
that means that there wasn't enough evidence to charge him, or the evidence was garbage because it was falsified. One or the other.
One or the other, yeah.
But man, I'm happy for Watson, dude. People have been like shitting on him for like the last year, thinking he did something that he obviously didn't do.
Yeah.
I think the entire NFL fan congregation, I'm stealing Fendler's term because I couldn't think of another word for it, needs to all apologize to Watson expeditiously, if not faster than that.
Yeah, the problem is they don't really get
That's true. I hope Watson comes to Minneapolis. I think he might, maybe, because you're basically flopping Kirk's contract with Watson's contract.
Yeah, true.
But you'd also have to give up some picks that you guys might actually need. But I could see it. I could definitely see it happening.
I could see it.
Kirk is way over. Yeah, Kirk is definitely way overpaid. I say he's underrated to most, but he's definitely overpaid, like, by a lot.
Yeah. Agreed.
You don't pay that money to a quarterback that can't win games on a consistent basis in prime time, specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can win all the games you want, but if you don't win in prime time and you don't win the big games, then you don't deserve the money.
Exactly.
And one thing that I have to say about Herbert is that people still have things that they don't get, like when they talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Tell me you were not impressed with Herbert constantly converting 3rd and 4th and longs against fucking the Raiders in the final week of the season.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can do that as consistently as he had to do it.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's kind of why, like, with the Burrow and, like, Herbert comparisons, that's why my go-to line for that, and I firmly believe this, the two teams drafted the exact thing they needed.
Yeah.
Burrow was drafted because they needed a quarterback that can turn the ship around and make them into a competitor again.
Yeah.
They got that. For the Chargers, they too needed a leader on their offensive side of the ball. And though Herbert is not vocal like other leaders are, specifically, you know, someone like Phillip Rivers who was very vocal, he's proven that he leads a team by just his mannerisms by themselves.
Yeah.
Like everyone just enjoys having him on their team.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that he goes around, he hugs everybody after games and after really big plays, you know? Like, when he broke the single-season touchdown record for the Chargers.
Yeah.
And he fucking tackled Mike Williams onto the ground. Even Mike's like, I thought he was just running in to give me a hug, and the next thing I know, I'm on the ground. I wasn't. Raiders suck. Proves my Rosen is better statement. I don't know about that one, Chief. I don't know about that one. Okay, so let's move on from football. Let's talk about this child you're expecting in September.
Yes.
I'm assuming you don't know the gender yet.
This week I'm going to find out.
Okay, so this week you're going to find out. Do you guys already have names picked out for each gender?
A few, like just 2 or 3 for each, but
I'm not going to ask you to reveal those because that's not something I want to have ask you about. I'm sure you want to keep that a little bit more private until you make a public announcement.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah, I'll definitely tell everybody soon what it is, but honestly, yeah, we're going to keep the name.
And have you guys already started, like, buying the furniture and that type of stuff yet?
We just have small stuff. Like, just,
okay. Are you waiting to know the gender before you go more into buying stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured, because you don't want to buy a bunch of one or the other and then it not being the right gender, so...
Yeah, we're gonna wait for a few days, and then, then we're gonna go ahead and start buying a bunch of stuff.
Alright, definitely happy for you guys.
Thank you, man.
I'm happy for every couple I've met on Twitch when I see them doing something really, really good, like, obviously... having a kid's good. Getting married, like Ammo's going to be doing pretty soon. That's good too. I like to see the dynamics between couples too. Like when Adam had his significant other on his channel a couple times.
Yeah.
Obviously the maybe 3 or 4 times Fendis had Emily on has always been a fun experience as well.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the fact that I've met all of you guys and all these other people through Twitch that, as you mentioned, I never thought I'd do it either. You know, I never thought I'd meet all you people and actually have you as part of, like, my daily routine and all that stuff. But here we are. Anytime Fendler's on, I watch him, no matter what time of day it is. I make sure I pop in. When you, Adam, Looch, Yimmy, all those guys are the ones that I try to at least be in chat in for at least a little while, you know? And the fact that we could have just been like any other community where we just come in for the streams and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But no, we tweet at each other. We give each other motivation, confidence, positivity. And we know that if we ever wanted to ask each other for advice, we could, and we'd get some honest advice that would help us.
Yeah.
And that's like when I was trying to figure out what Elgato to get. That's why I asked like someone like Yimmy and stuff, because I know that he would definitely have a good answer for a budget guy.
Yeah.
But two, I knew he'd be one of the most available people that I could chat with.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, you know, it's something that this community stands out from others, for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's not even taking into account, like, the immense subathons that have gone wild the last couple months. That's not including the stem cells for Fen. That's not even including anything like that. That's just for how we support each other on the regular basis.
Yeah.
And like a little story from last Madden, we were getting to the end of the season, and you know, golden tickets had released, and that basically is where the season ends, is as soon as the last one like comes out.
Yeah.
And I remember I wanted to try out one, and I didn't know who to get it from or where to buy it from, and I remember asking you for that specific card because I wanted to try it out.
Yeah, I forgot which one it was.
Yeah, me too, but you had shipped it over to me and I'd used it and I ended up really liking it. And with golden tickets coming up within the next couple months, I would assume.
Yeah.
Who would you want to see as a golden ticket this year?
I think I'd want to see like Ed Too Tall Jones because he's 6'9", like a receiver.
I could see that.
Like Calvin Johnson, like just the tall guys in the game. I'd like to see, to be honest. Just because the user, like, it's to be a user in this game, like to be tall is just super beneficial. So
I feel like would be really cool because they'll have the free agency promo pretty soon too.
Yeah.
Watson's definitely getting a card. Like, he's getting traded, he's getting a card. The question is, with his card, how high would you put him having him not played the last season?
I don't know.
Like that's
keep the same ratings.
That's what's super tricky, because the only card he has in this Madden, I think, is like an 80 or an 84 or something like that.
Yeah.
But he hasn't played all season, so you can't really put him into the like high 90s or even the normal 90s. I feel like the highest you could probably give him as a free agency card would maybe be a 90.
Maybe.
That's might be a bit generous, but that's the highest I could see them being able to give him without people backlashing them too much for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll get that, and that's it.
With golden tickets, I think I'd want to see people who hasn't gotten a single card this year, and the golden ticket be the one that they do get.
That'd be cool.
Like, for example, before I found out that they actually did, already gave Kaiser White a card, and they gave Justin Jones a card, I think. Those would have been two people I would have liked to see specifically for my team have a golden ticket had they not gotten those cards.
Yeah.
Because they played absolutely out of their minds.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing this year Adderley golden ticket either, because he hasn't played that bad.
That'd be nice for your squad.
Yo, what up? I came from TikTok. Rosen better than Herbert. Gee, I wonder who this actually is. I don't know, I might be wrong. This could actually be a new person, but I don't know. Considering what we were just chatting about, I'm not sure about that. Okay, it might be a new person. I could see that. Were you coming from my TikTok or Looch's TikTok?
I did post it in my Discord, maybe.
It could have been from your Discord too, but he did say it came from TikTok, so... Okay, he came from your TikTok. That makes more sense. I'm like, I don't think you would have came from mine, because I only have like 100-something followers, and at least half of them are people I already know. So as of now, we actually have a 17-10 game going on right now. And we just hit the 2-minute warning, so a couple more first downs and this one is over, but a sack right there helps the Bills out a little bit. But yeah, this team lost another one last week, and who knows, might lose one this week too, because they are punting. What are you playing, French? No, I'm not playing it actually, we're watching it, and I'm actually doing a podcast with Looch at the moment. So what I do is I put up this franchise specifically for my podcast, so there's something going on the screen while Looch and I are talking, or whoever my guest is. So that way you can listen to me, but also have something to actually watch at the same time. Because nobody likes to sit there on a blank screen listening to people talk with nothing else going on. Nobody likes that. I mean, I guess if you're doing, like, you know, some type of errand or something at your house, you can just have me on in the background.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're actually watching it, it's going to be very boring. I mean, I would listen to Looch. You would? I'm sure you would. To be fair, Looch does have a good voice for that type of thing. But I think there's not many, like, Craigie has a very good, like, that English accent.
Yeah.
I really like listening to that when I'm doing something else, because it's a voice that I can recognize who it is without having to look at the screen.
Yeah.
So I know if it like shifts to somebody else, I'll know when I've moved to a different stream.
Yeah.
Whereas if I listen to like you, Adam, or Murphy D, and you guys shift to one of the other two, it'll take me a minute to connect the fact that I went to another stream, because you all have a very similar accent, like slight accent to you guys.
Yeah.
It comes through differently, but that's why it'll only take me a second, because I'll be like, okay, that's Adam. You know, all he has to say is bagged milk, and I'll know it's Adam.
Yeah.
And if Murphy D says something along the lines of like nerd or something like that, then I'm like, okay, that's Murphy D. But looks like we're gonna win this game and move to 9-3-1.
Nice.
Looch is better than whoever Adam is. Is he though? Are you? Are you gonna throw some shade here, Looch, or are we gonna try to keep this civil? How is this gonna work?
That's my boy.
You're like, that's my boy. I'm not gonna cause any drama with that guy. Looch will just outcoin make you and just buy you out. We don't want that.
I gotta head out in a second anyways, because I gotta go.
Well, luckily for you, the game just ended. So we're going to go into next week, do the weekly training, and then I'll give you a minute to do your final thoughts. And then we can go ahead and ship a raid off.
Awesome.
And whoever Murphy D is. Okay, yeah, I think Looch is better than Murphy. Come on, Looch, comment. Do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Cause something. Nah, I'm kidding, though. Looch, Murphy, and Adam, to me, are all very, very close together in terms of how good they are.
Of course, yeah.
Also, partner Looch.
Thank you. We're trying. We just put in the application, so hopefully.
Rosen guy, you're gullible, yes, okay. Just so you know, I still don't quite buy your act, but I like playing along sometimes, so good job for getting me to play along, at least. Okay, so Looch, go ahead and give your final statements here. while I do the weekly training and such.
Yeah. Honestly, thank you for having me. It's fun. It's a great idea. It's nice and to get to talk to more people in the community. Sometimes it's hard, to sit one-on-one and have a chat.
Definitely.
So, thank you for putting this together. I know you're going to have some really good guests going forward, so I'm excited to see where this goes. And, thank you for having me, man. It's fun. I enjoy this stuff.
One final story, because I forgot to bring it up earlier, and then I'll go ahead and ship the raid off. So, I'd say midway through last year, you had released merch, and I had bought a coffee mug.
Yeah.
And I remember receiving it, and I'm only bringing it up now because of how long ago it was, but it was printed upside down.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I sent you a message right away about that. And the reason why was because, and I told you this, but I'm telling chat this, was because I knew if it wasn't me and it was somebody else that didn't know you very well, then they would pin that on you instead of who distributes it. And so I wanted to make sure that if it was a glitch on your end, or if the picture was printed backwards on your end or something like that, you could flip it back up and then repost it. Or if it's just a genuine mistake, you can contact them and get it fixed. Because not a lot of people would do that. But yeah, that's just a real quick story. I do people like this a solid that I've known for a while. If something like that happens, I don't just immediately assume that it's their fault, because it's not. But with that being said, Looch can stick around just a minute while we ship the raid off, and then I'll talk to you for 2-3 minutes after we hop off, and then we'll go from there.
Sure.
Okay, so let's see. Who would be a fun guy to raid? Actually, I think I got somebody, unless you can think of somebody else.
Who are you thinking? I'm cool.
I'm thinking of either JG or Rafington.
I'm cool with both. You can flip a coin. I'm good with both.
You know what? Yeah, I think I got this figured out. I think we're going to send it off to JG. I have not rated him in forever. So.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, well, thank you to Kyle Accounts for being here. Thank you, Looch, for taking some time out of your day.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll raid that next time, Kyle. But we're going to go ahead and ship this off to JG. Hopefully you guys will drop some emotes if you got them. Make sure you say hi to JG, and yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.